Good. Well, greetings, family and friends. Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I am Cathy's oldest brother. So it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to this beautiful celebration and presentation of my new brother-in-law and my sister Cathy. I had to actually write this because I only had a glass of wine. Well, maybe it was 3. I was very honored to be asked by Rich to make this presentation. I was honored because after getting to know Rich, after 3 or 4 years that I've known him, myself and the family, have found him to be a very awesome dude. In more ways than one than you can imagine. He is a really likable dude.
And he loves Cathy.
And he loves Cathy. I can also say that my little sister Cathy is a very awesome person. And we as a family, her family, love her to death. Yes. She is totally awesome. So the only thing left to say is, I know one thing about my sister Cathy, and I can truly say she has found her true love. So now, friends and family, it is my pleasure to present to you with much love, Mr. and Mrs. Rich Gamboa.
Can you believe how good she looks? I cried when she came down the steps at Carmel, at the place we eloped at, Library, and I just got hit with it again. So, on behalf of Cathy and I do want to make some thank yous. First off, just everybody for being here. Ernie, thank you so much for standing up and saying the kind words that you just did. Thank you so much. So for all of you that have been already mingling around, I think you see that we have different kind of groups of circles here. So I want to kind of thank you all individually, and let's start maybe with my family, which even though it's the smallest in number here represented, is certainly represented very strongly. I have 2 wonderful sisters. One came all the way out from Illinois, and Jeannie and Debbie, and their respective better halves. My daughter Alyssa, where's she hiding? And John and John's family, and cousins Philip and Gigi. My family is small, but they are strong, and thank you so much. And thank you so much for bringing Cathy in. I do want to thank my mom and dad who aren't here. God, I'm so emotional. Can you believe it? Yes. My dad is 90, and he's not traveling so well. So my parents couldn't be here. They're here in spirit, certainly. Exactly. When Cathy and I eloped to Carmel, I know how many of you heard the story. I called my mom the day before, like I called everybody else. By the way, I called Ernie the day before and asked for permission, which I did. I'm kind of old school that way. And he's kind of old school, and he granted it. But when I told my mom, I think she felt like she really wanted to be there and do something. So much to our surprise, when we checked in at Carmel for our hotel, my mom had called ahead in advance and actually paid for everything. It was really nice. I can't believe I'm so emotional. I'm never gonna say. Okay, so to my family, to our tennis friends. So if you know the passions, it's tennis and it's music. That applies to both of us, and that's something that really bonded us together from the get-go. For our tennis friends, a lot of them, this is kind of interesting because Cathy and I have walked in the same tennis circles here for 20 some years, but it hasn't been until the last 3 or 4 that we actually hooked up. And I know that there's people here that have actually tried to do that before, and it's finally happened. And so to our tennis friends, thanks for hooking us up. Thanks for supporting us on all of our matches. thanks for putting up with our tennis personalities. I think that the big thing I will say tennis-wise, Cathy has all the grace and wonderful personality of a Martina Hingis on court, and I realize I'm still a McEnroe at times. So that's going to come around. That's going to come around. The McEnroe will soften. All right, so thank you, tennis friends. Okay, band friends. We've got the usual suspects. We've got my musicians. Let me tell you a story for Cathy's family that may not have heard this one before. So if you haven't met my band, the usual suspects, these guys, I don't have brothers, I've got sisters. These guys are kind of like my brothers. The band's been together, would you believe it, since 1994. That's 23 years. Now, there's a lot of real rock bands that are together for 23 years, and we've been doing the thing for 23 years. About 20 years ago, Jerry, our bass player, missed a gig, and I still have a hard time believing the story, but it's true. And we needed a fill-in bass player. It was like the only gig, one of two maybe in 23 years that Jerry missed. And Cathy said, "My brother Adrian knows you." And I go, "No, I don't know your brother." He goes, "Yeah, he filled in for the usual suspects in a Morgan Hill 4th of July gig. That was at the Britain, Jerry, out in the fields before we did the real 4th of July, and we did that family festival." Adrian, where are you, Adrian?
He's over there. Adrian!
Adrian, raise your hand. The usual suspects. Adrian filled in and played bass with us. Talk about a small world. So there you go, band friends. Okay, Cathy's family. Thank you. I've never been felt so welcomed. In fact, I think what I found with Cathy's family and the way they treat each other as family is it's really reinvigorated my desire to do the same with our family.
Good job, Rich.
And so, yeah. Two families. Thank you so much. I can't even begin to thank the Andrades enough for all they've done. So, there you go. Okay. That's it for the speeches. Now, if I try to get myself not to cry, I'm going to try to reenact one song. I did play one song for Cathy at our wedding. Oh, by the way, one more thank you. Albert and Cathy Tabasa, who many of you know, are not here. Albert and Cathy came with us to Carmel. They were our friends that came and stood up for us at our wedding and were there for us. And unfortunately, they couldn't be here this weekend. So Albert and Cathy, thank you. So while we were there, let me grab my guitar.
Speech, Cathy. While you're waiting, Cathy. A little something. Come on, Cathy. A little something. Speech, Cathy. Say something, Cathy.
I just want to say I love each and every one of you.
We love
And
you.
I love my new family. And Alyssa, I love you to death.
That's so, that was
Glad to be
nice.
here, Cathy.
Okay, so you only get one song from me, thank goodness. And then you'll get the actual, my buddies will hear, we'll set up, hopefully we'll get them some shade, maybe we can move the tent over. Okay, so in Carmel, I tried to sing one song for Cathy. This isn't the song I wrote for her, but this is one that I played for early in our relationship. It really meant something to us then, still does now. Yeah. I'll try not to forget words either. I have to look at you. Get her. Merely by chance, very unsuspecting, you took my heart, unprotecting me. Now I'm falling in love with you. Just when I thought I was free and easy, you came along to me, soft and breezy. Now I'm falling in love with you. Falling in love with you. And for the first time in my life, knew what it's like to be a happy man. Ooh, happy man. And for the first time in my life, been made.